Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Greg Ducharme, joined by Mark Immelman today, and this is the round one recap of the Tour Championship. Although looking at the leaderboard, it looks like a round two recap. Mark, welcome to the show. Nice job out there on the coverage today, and thanks for joining. How you doing today?
Great. One of my favorite events at East Lake. It's such a great golf course. Bobby Jones's place, there it is. If you're doing counts, there's my Bobby Jones reference, and it was fun being a part of it. And then to be part of the PGA Tour live crew, which I haven't done since the Shortened Players Championship, and to have Rory, who looked, he looked like Rory McIlroy today, was a lot of fun.
What'd you make of the golf course?
It's spectacular. It's in great shape. The thing about it is, which is a little sad, is that Atlanta, I was talking to a local here yesterday, and he says they've had a record-breaking August in terms of rainfall. They've had they've had 8.5 inches of rain, and it's rained 16 of 31 days in August of 2020. So this golf course was always going to be kind of lush. It's always going to be a little slow. The greens are impeccable, but they're running at about 12. They're not really firm and that scary fright factor fast just yet, but there were one or two. As they started to bake out later in the day, you could see them get glassy and have that sort of thing where, I better be careful. So, of course, it's in fantastic order, but it still is pretty receptive.
It's amazing that we're now at a place in the game where 12 on the stimp meter is a little bit on the slower side. It's amazing where we've come, and hearing you say it that way, it is. 12 used to be 12. I mean, that's flying. And now it's on the slower side, which is amazing. But the course did provide an excellent leaderboard. We did have a little leaderboard coming in, but now at the top of the leaderboard, we have Dustin Johnson and Jon Rahm in the mix. Second week in a row. It's extremely exciting. We'll start with Dustin Johnson here. He's at 13 under now. He was 3 under for the day today. And he looked pretty good. And he and Jon Rahm were in this duel back and forth, matching putts, especially on the second 9. What'd you make of DJ's round today?
DJ did what DJ had to do coming in here with the lead at 10 under par. And holes 8 and 9 where he slipped up, 8 I think was playing the hardest hole today, if not the second hardest. And 9 is just a man-sized par 3 of 220, 30 yards plus. And you can easily spend one over there. So I can sort of forgive those indiscretions. I was surprised that he would make 2 in a row, 2 bogeys that is, but then he turned around on the back 9 and did what he had to do, and he kind of sort of reclaimed his momentum, not necessarily the lead because, there's a lot of golf left, but he just got some momentum back with birdies on 12, 13, and 15, so that little stretch. Not bogeying 18, which was down breeze, is sort of unforgivable for guys of his power. So I feel like he would think he let one slide over there, but still, if you had said to DJ, big guy, we're giving you 67, 3 under, would you take it? I'm sure he would have bitten your hand off and run and just chilled in the hotel for a day. So I think it's a good day's work.
You got to figure 4 rounds like that for him would go an extremely long way. And even 9, Mark, where the par 3, it was formerly the 18th hole here, 232 yards, and he had, I believe it was a 4-iron that he hit. And I thought it was a great shot. He played a little cut. It was a left hole location. He started it at the flag, peeled it to the middle of the green, very similar to what Jon Rahm did. Rahm's landed a little bit soft, and DJ's kind of took a bounce over the green, which I thought was a little surprising. And he ends up making an unfortunate bogey there, but he did rally on the second 9. And that's where it really got interesting because Jon Rahm, who I also want to talk about here, Jon Rahm played great on the back 9. He made 4 birdies in the between 12 and 16. His only par was on 14, but he too didn't take advantage of the 18th hole. Do you think Jon Rahm is leaving today feeling disappointed, or do you think that he wins the day?
I wouldn't say wins the day because there were rounds lower than him, but I will tell you this: he pulled off a Houdini act by shooting 5 under and only hitting it in 3 or 14 fairways. Because you've got to hit the ball and play off the tee over here. And so that was some big time stuff. And what was impressive to me about Rahm was he's obviously strong enough, and the rough is punitive, but it's not like pitch out punitive. If the greens were firm, it would have been difficult to control, but it's not like you're just chopping balls back into play. So clearly was using his strength because you've hit 3 or 14 fairways, yet you're able to hit the ball on the green in regulation 14 of 18 times. So he rode a quality iron game, which is typically his deal, and then putted really, really nicely. But, that was, I don't want to say it was easy to do because the greens are so perfect. But if you're starting the ball on your line without them having a whole bunch of speed, you were going to make your share, and he's obviously confident. So, I'm sure he's really happy with the day, coming in, starting two back of Dustin, and then coming out of the first round, tied with DJ. I'm sure Rahm is feeling just dandy,
So he hit 3 of 14 fairways, a great stat from Justin Ray. It's the lowest round at Eastlake by a player hitting 3 or fewer fairways in the FedEx Cup playoff era, which is since 2007. And thank you, Jacob, for that. But the thing that fascinates me about this round from Jon Rahm, 3 of 14 fairways is one thing. Well, he hit 14 of 18 greens. And typically, if you see somebody miss a lot of fairways but hit a lot of greens, you see a proximity number that's really high. You see a guy who, he can get it on the green, but he can't really get it close to the hole. Well, Jon Rahm was third in proximity today. He averaged 26 feet. And the way that he was rolling it, he was second in strokes gained putting. He made 128 feet of putts. It was remarkable. It was something to really be seen. Do you think, Mark, going forward, you can you can miss fairways and still continue to give yourself birdie looks, or do you think he's got to really clean up the driver in order to contend with DJ?
He's going to have to clean up the driver, but I'll tell you this much: that proximity number that you share, a number of the hole locations were sort of short and to edges of greens. So if you're in the rough, some of the holes here, you can run one up, and there's always your grass up to about 30 feet of the edge of the green. So you could bumble one up there and sort of climb it onto the green, and then it wants to gather with slope. So I think that's another area where if Kyle was on, I'd say to him, look, we're massaging statistics to sort of fit our argument a little bit. So he's going to have to put the ball in play, because when some of these hole locations get cut on perches and stuff like that, and you're playing defense, the next thing all of a sudden you get on the wrong side of a slope, and you're going to have 40 and 50 feet as opposed to 26 on average. So I still think the order of the day around this place, as it always is to put the ball in play off the tee and putt well.
Well, both Rahm and DJ did putt well, which was extremely important. DJ was 11th in strokes gained putting, but DJ too, he only hit 14. He only hit 5 of 14 fairways. So I think they both have a little bit of work to do with the driver, clean things up a little bit. But a player around that I thought was really impressive, Mark, and I want to get your thoughts on it, was the round of Justin Thomas. He was able to hit 8 of 14 fairways. He got it in play much more, and he made up a shot. He started the day at 7 under. He was 3 back of Dustin Johnson, 2 back of Rahm. He's now only 2 back of both of them at 11 under par. A great round of 66. What impressed you about Justin Thomas today?
What impressed me was that in some comments with our crew before the tournament, he said that last week he didn't really have his best game and the ball striking wasn't really sharp. And so obviously he and his dad have done some yeoman's work, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday leading into this thing to get a handle on the golf swing. But to that, there's a golf instructor called Jon Rahm, who's a short game maestro, who I highly respect, and he's helped Francesco Molinari en route to major championship wins and company. And I saw John on the golf course with JT yesterday in practice. And so I text him, I'm like, JT? With a question mark, and I get the sort of smiley face back. So I caught up with him today before the round. We were doing a pregame show, and I said to him, "So, John, what's the story with Justin?" And he said, "I'm on a trial period with Justin Thomas." I'm like, "Well, it's going well," and he goes, "Yeah, there's some promise." And I looked into the round some, and I saw Justin was pretty sharp around the greens too. So a little insider trading, if you will, there with Jon Rahm involved, because that guy is an expert around the greens. He's a heck of a golf instructor, and with JT's ball striking prowess, adding a little extra around the greens, I think is going to be a big deal.
No question about it. JT was second in proximity, as we mentioned about Jon Rahm having a pretty good proximity day. JT was even better, and he was 4th approaching the green. So with JT's iron play, as impressive as it is, a little work with the putter. Putter's been the weakness for him this year, and it was the weakness today, despite the work with Jon Rahm. As you know, Mark, these things take a little time to set in. It's not like that trial period you're going to see, well, I took a lesson with Jon Rahm and now I lead the tour in strokes gained putting starting the next round. It doesn't necessarily work that way. So I do think for JT, there's some stuff to clean up. And I think I'm with you. I think Jon Rahm is the right guy for the job. I've had a chance to speak with him on a number of occasions, and he is extremely impressive. So I'm a huge fan of his, no question about it. And JT, I mean, the model, Mark. We call it now Mark's model, where the guys that are hitting the ball really well and they lose a little bit in strokes gained putting, these are the guys that are going to have great rounds tomorrow. So JT's got to be on your hit list leading into tomorrow.
Greg, look at me. Look at the camera. All right, now, I need you to explain to me how, yes, he's had a bad putting day. He's 22nd in a field of 30. But he's 3 of 4 scrambling. His sand saves 1 of 1. He's 4th in the field around strokes gained around the green. All he's not doing, he's missed a few 8-footers, and so he's lost strokes over there. But he's made every putt that meant something, and he hasn't held anything of major consequence. Come on, now let's leave the bad putting thing alone.
Well, see, this is the thing. This is why it's a great sign for tomorrow, because just because you. Let's say that he had a lot of opportunities inside of 20 feet. Yes. And just because some of those missed today, it doesn't mean that he's hitting bad putts. So I would look at JT and say he looks ready to me to have a great putting day. Just because there's a negative next to your strokes gain number, well, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a positive the day after. And it doesn't mean that you had a bad putting day. It just means you had a bad putting day statistically. And watching JT today, I would say it's unlikely for that to happen again tomorrow.
I'm so glad, because you're a wise young man, and I call you young, that you didn't fall to just looking at a statistical summary and go, oh, negative strokes gained putting, it was a bad day. That's
there's more to it than that. There is absolutely there's a little eye test that goes involved here, especially when you have a guy who's working with a new putting coach. So it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. But Mark, maybe the winner of the day. You look at a guy who, in your one and done strategy throughout the entire year, your anchor position has been this week, and it's been based on Rory McIlroy. And coming into today, he was 3 under par. Last year he won, he was 5 under par. So he's a little bit farther out. And the game hasn't really been in the form that it was last year. And people have had some questions and some doubts. We did find out some news that that Poppy was on the way, and Poppy is safely delivered and happy and healthy and all of that, which I think is a big relief for Rory. But Rory, 64 today, ties his lowest career round at Eastlake, which with his record there, I almost find that to be surprising. He made 5 birdies on the back 9. Which was extremely impressive, and he hit a lot of greens. Iron play was important for him today, and I think it's been something that has been lapsing a little bit since the restart. What did you make of Rory's round? What impressed you so much? I mean, you got to be feeling thrilled about that.
2 things. There was a one-directional miss with the driver, and if he was a little off, it was just a flare out to right field, which it wasn't getting him to trouble. There wasn't that fast left ball. There was one that was sort of touch and go, but he got away with it. But if the miss was going in one direction, and I almost want to say in a funny way, it was patient, because on the 3rd hole of the day, I was a bit critical of Rory, and he's birdied the first, made a good par on 2. 3 is a downhill par 4. A lot of players just hit iron off the tee and wedge on the green. He's gone after this with driver, blown it to the right to a back right hole location. And I set up the shot going, got to be careful here. You'd rather just put this into the middle of the green, give your putter a chance and get out. Well, he's went for the super flop shot out of Bermuda rough off a downhill lie, dumps it in the bunker, makes bogey. And I'm like, this is a guy trying to force the issue. But then on the next hole, settles down with a good drive, beautiful iron on the green, makes a birdie. Par 5 after that, I think has 8 iron into the green mix. Could have made eagle, just melts over the edge. And so from then on, I saw a guy that wasn't trying to force the issue. It didn't look rash to me. It's almost like he came to grips with the fact that, I'm swinging okay. I love this place. If I just play average, I'm going to shoot 65 or so around here. And that's exactly what he did. Didn't try to force anything, and then he plays that back 9, opens up and finishes fast on 16, 17, and 18. So I think it was around where the one-directional miss, the patience, and the coming to grips with the fact that, I'm very much in this, and I don't have to do anything special to shoot a really low round. Because people think low scores and they think aggression. That's you cannot be aggressive around Eastlake. You have to be a little circumspect at times, and he was that way on the back nine, and he shot 30 on the back, and it could have been lower on the back, to be honest with you.
Mark, it's interesting you say that about the aggression at Eastlake. You start 7 back of a leader in Dustin Johnson, who's playing the best golf in the world, and you feel like, well, okay, that means I have to hit it at every flag. But what you really have to do is highlight the strategy that I would have if I had a player in the field. I would say, okay, let's pick a number that we think is our kind of a target score. Where would you like to get to? Maybe it's 18 under, maybe it's 20, whatever it is. How are you going to pick apart this golf course and give yourself opportunities? Because one double bogey early in a round, if that bogey on number 3 turns into a double, if he doesn't get up and down from the bunker, all of a sudden, I mean, you stretch that lead for them so much with a mistake. And now you're kind of in this bad cycle where you feel like to get that back, just to get that double back, not even to gain strokes on the leaders, just to get the double back, you got to be even more aggressive, and things can compound quickly. So it was great to see Rory a little bit more patient after that, as you allude to. And the thing that struck me, Mark, well, this was a positive strokes gain putting day. In fact, he was 5th in the field with the flat stick, and I think that's so important for Rory. It's been something he's been struggling with a little bit since the restart. I might say a lot of it. And to have a great putting day, I mean, that's got to mean a lot for him going forward. Are you thinking he's going to have another great round tomorrow? Do you think this is kind of a low round? Or are you looking at him saying, yeah, this is a guy who's ready to charge for 4 straight days?
I think the good putting today, he just made the putts that he had to. Everything inside, like I talk about that 8-foot in number all of the time. He was, as far as my memory serves, pretty good from that range. And then he made a bonus one down the hill on 11. Otherwise, he was just pretty sharp from close range, and it was a fundamental sort of a round. So with that being said, if he does the same thing tomorrow, logic would say that he will do it again, but you never know in golf. But the way he started to swing, as I'd referenced when you asked what impressed me, I referenced a bad shot, and the bad shot was going in one direction, and that's easy to manage. It's when you got that sucker going in 2 directions that it's hard to play consistent golf. I think for Rory, I said that he shot 66. That was a mistake. He shot 64 today, which was matched by Abraham Answer. And Abraham Answer, Mark, tied for the low round of the day. He was the biggest mover of the day, no question. He goes out in 31, and he comes in with the 8 straight pars and then makes eagle on 18. It was an impressive round for him. This is a fiery competitor. I'm a huge fan of Abraham Answer. Did you get a chance to catch any of his round today? No, I didn't. So should I do my Kyle Porter and just give you my assessment of stuff by looking at ShotLink, or should I just give you my take?
Let's just say your take on Abraham Answer as a player in general.
My take on Abraham is he's gutsy, he's good. He played here last year, but didn't have the best of times and only shot 1 round under par. And it was, in fact, a round where I was calling him for PGA Tour Live. And I saw a guy sort of learning the golf course. And we talked about this in the setup. There's nuance to playing this place well. And the more you've been around you, the more you can sort of plot your way around the golf course. And he's the kind of guy who hits this flat fade typically off the tee. He finds a bunch of fairways. He's crafty with his irons. He doesn't hit the ball real high like a DJ or a Rahm or someone. He flats balls into targets. And a number of the holes today were cut on close to edges of greens. So if you played off the middle of the green and you faded and drew it and high and low and that sort of thing, you could get the ball in there close. And he's a streaky putter. So, it doesn't really surprise me that he played well. This is a golf course that, again, I've said this ad nauseum. If you put the ball in play, you can play some offense. And going bogey free around you, that's some good stuff by Abraham.
Yeah, 11 of 14 fairways today, 15 of 18 greens. And this is not unlike him. He is a player who hits, as you said, a ton of fairways. And I remember what he did at the RBC Heritage. He missed 1 fairway leading into the final round. So extremely impressive with the driver. He gives himself a ton of chances. I think the President's Cup was huge for him, and it's really proving that Abraham Answer can compete in any field. So I'm really excited to see what he does. And Mark, I want to get your thoughts on some picks heading into tomorrow. If you've been listening to the podcast, if you listen to the round by round recaps Well, there's a good chance that over the past couple of weeks, you've made yourself some pretty good cash with a couple of these bets. We've had a couple of long shots hit. We're going to try to find the long shot, maybe some of the favorites who we think are going to do really well tomorrow and for the rest of the week. But stick around. First, we're going to take a break and hear a word from our partners. This is what everybody's been waiting for. Who do we think, based on maybe Mark's model, maybe something else, who do you like heading into tomorrow, a Saturday second round? Who do you think is going to make the biggest move tomorrow?
Maybe you should explain what Mark's model is, but I'm sort of looking down the field, and again, I've been beating this drum for a long time. I watched Brendan Todd assemble a very basic-looking 67 today, and the guy didn't put a foot wrong. He wasn't driving it that long off the tee. In fact, Rory was habitually 35, 40 yards in front. But for a while, Todd was making Rory kind of look pedestrian on the front nine. And then Rory took advantage in a few holes on the back into the wind. But Brendan, the way he's hitting it and the way he's putting, I look to see him build on the 67 he shot today. I also think Xander Schauffele, I was surprised really because the 67 he shot was a little scrappy, including a double bogey. And so where you guys say, well, the guy didn't putt well, maybe he'll putt better, this sort of stuff, whatever your theory is. I look at folks that have kind of made one large mistake or there's something that's glaring that's easy to clean up. It's hard to get out and suddenly make putts tomorrow if you haven't made putts today, because when you're missing, that starts to become a bit of a mental thing, and it sticks and lodges in the psyche a little bit. So I'm looking for Todd to play. I'm looking for Xander to kick it on a little bit. And then I have a sense that Poppy's dad is uncorked or he's lifted the seal with that round of 64 today. Rory just has got a little something about him. He's got a little swagger going on. There were lots of smiles out there. He was quite interactive with me on the golf course. In fact, it was once or twice he sort of would walk past me on the one hole on 10. He's driven it way right, like he had been missing, and he hits it on the green. And he walks up the hill past me and he goes, well, I'm becoming an expert at playing out of the right rough. And so there was like this self-deprecating way about him, and just that the mindset was loose. And he looked like he was sort of playing with house money. The pressure was off. And so I think McIlroy might be the guy to pay attention to tomorrow.
Speaking of house money, Poppy's dad, Rory McIlroy, is plus 650 thanks to our friends at William Hill. Xander is 33-1 as an outright. I think it's maybe a little long for Xander to win the tournament, but I agree with you. I think he's going to have a great round tomorrow. Here's the guy I'm looking at heading into tomorrow. It's Webb Simpson. You mentioned something glaring that happens that maybe surprises you, something that's easy to clean up, something that's unlike the player. And I look at Webb Simpson and the start that he got off to with 4 bogeys in his first 5 holes. All of a sudden, Webb Simpson is 4 over par through 5. He's at 2 under for the tournament, well back, out of contention. He's done, but not so fast. He makes birdie at 8, 10, 13, and 18. He just patiently chips away at the lead. He gets back to 6 under for the tournament, even for the round. I thought it was a gutsy performance. And when I look at Webb Simpson, he was the best iron player in the field today. It's something he's done very well all throughout the season. I think he's either 5th or 6th for the year approaching the green. And it's something that I believe is going to continue. He's got to clean it up with the putter a little bit. And Webb has been a great putter all year who had a bad putting day today. So Webb is the first guy that I look at. The second guy that I look at, who I really like for an outright, is Justin Thomas. You're not going to get the odds that you get with a Webb Simpson with Justin Thomas, but it's for good reason. JT is a little bit closer to the lead. He closed that margin from 3 to 2. Still has 2 players to pass, but I think that JT and Webb are your big movers tomorrow.
All right.
Well, that's it for us. We promised we were going to keep it quick. I think, as Jacob likes to say, under 25 minutes or it's free. So I think we're kind of right around that mark. But Mark, great job on the coverage today. It was a pleasure watching. And I know this is one of your favorite venues of the year. So enjoy the rest of the week. Thanks for joining.
One of Bobby Jones' quote. Do you need one?
Yes, I need one.
Oh, yes, he has one for you. The 15th hole. They were playing it short, 150 yards today. But still, this was McIlroy being defensive. He had a wedge well left of the target. It was 150 yards. Jones said, with that hole, it's island green, and that's about 215 from the back tee. He said he finally figured out the key to playing that hole well, and that was to use an old golf ball.
Well, that keeps your brand new golf balls, strokes gained golf balls in the positive. So I like the strategy from Bobby Jones. I like the strategy from Mark Immelman. That's Mark Immelman. You can get him on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. I'm Greg Ducharme. You can get me on Twitter at TheRealGFD. Thank you so much for listening to our round 1 recap of the Tour Championship. We'll be back with you tomorrow after round 2. After round 3, we'll be with you. And after round 4 on Monday night, we'll be with you again. So make sure you stick around for all of that. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.